After her father's funeral, a little girl was kicked out by Stepmother, but the millionaire arrived and said this. The rain fell on Maplewood Cemetery like the sky itself was grieving. 8-year-old Lily clutched a single, slightly wilted white lily to her chest, her small frame shivering beneath a thin, borrowed white dress 2 sizes too big. Tears carved clean tracks through the grime on her cheeks, mirroring the muddy paths around her father's freshly turned earth. Mr. Henderson, the kind neighbor who'd driven her, squeezed her shoulder gently before leaving her alone with the raw, gaping hole in her world. Her father, her anchor, her only true family since her mother passed years ago, was gone. The walk back to the house, his house though it never truly felt like hers, was a blur of gray skies and heavier steps. Inside, the air was thick with the cloying scent of cheap perfume and something sharper, more acrid. Her stepmother, Brenda, stood in the hallway, arms crossed, her expression a mask of impatience that hardened into something cruel as Lily stepped inside, dripping rainwater onto the polished floor. Finally, Brenda snapped, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. Took you long enough to say goodbye to the dead weight. She didn't look at the small, trembling girl, but at the man lounging on the sofa, her boyfriend, Rick, with a beer in hand and a sneer already forming. Lily flinched, her knuckles white around the lily stem. I just wanted to say goodbye properly, Brenda, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Properly. Rick barked a harsh laugh. Kid, your properly costs money. Money your deadbeat dad didn't leave. This house, it's mine now. Brenda's, not yours. Brenda stepped closer, her expensive heels clicking ominously on the hardwood. He left nothing, Lily. Not a cent. Just debts. And you. Her eyes raked over Lily's damp, ill-fitting clothes with undisguised disgust. We can't afford charity cases, especially not ungrateful ones who drag their feet at funerals. Before Lily could process the words, Brenda moved with startling speed. She grabbed a half-full glass of ice water from the side table. Maybe this will wake you up to reality, she hissed, and with a vicious flick of her wrist, poured the freezing liquid over Lily's head. The shock was physical. A gasp ripped from Lily's lungs as the icy water soaked through her thin dress, plastering her hair to her skull, chilling her to the bone. She stood frozen, trembling violently, water dripping from her chin onto the floor, her wide eyes filled with a terror that drowned out even her grief. The humiliation burned hotter than the cold. Get out, Brenda commanded, her voice low and venomous. Right now, take whatever pathetic rags you own and get off our property. You're not welcome here. Never were. Rick stood up, looming over her. Yeah, scram, kid, before I help you out the door. He took a menacing step forward. Lily didn't need telling twice. The last vestige of safety, however fragile, had shattered. Sobbing silently now, great heaving breaths that hitched in her chest, she stumbled towards the small closet under the stairs, her room. She grabbed the only things that were truly hers, a worn stuffed rabbit named Mr. Hops, a faded photo of her and her father laughing on a beach, and the small, smooth stone he'd given her the day before he got too sick to leave the house. For courage, Button, he'd whispered. Clutching her meager treasures to her soaked chest, Lily pushed open the heavy front door and stepped back into the relentless rain. The cold seeped deeper, but it was nothing compared to the icy void opening inside her. She stood on the porch, shivering, utterly alone in the world, the rain washing away the last traces of her childhood. Where could she go? Who would want her? The world felt vast, dark, and terrifyingly empty. Just as despair threatened to swallow her whole, a sleek, silent black town car glided to a stop at the curb. The passenger door opened, and a man stepped out. He was in his early 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit that looked untouched by the rain, though his dark hair was slightly damp. He carried an air of quiet authority, but his eyes, as they fell on the small, drenched figure huddled on the porch, held only profound sadness and concern. He walked towards her, his polished shoes clicking softly on the wet pavement, ignoring the open, sneering faces of Brenda and Rick watching from the doorway. Lily shrank back, expecting more cruelty, more shouting. She squeezed Mr. Hops tighter, bracing herself. The man stopped a few feet away. He didn't tower over her. Instead, he knelt slowly, bringing himself to her eye level. Raindrops glistened in his dark hair and on his shoulders. His voice, when he spoke, was deep, calm, and surprisingly gentle, cutting through the drumming rain and the frantic beating of Lily's heart. "Lily?" he asked softly. She nodded mutely, too scared to speak, tears mixing with the rain on her face. "My name is Daniel Thorne," he said, his gaze steady and kind. "I knew your father very well." Lily's breath hitched. Her father had mentioned a Daniel once, long ago, a friend from his university days who'd moved away for business. She'd never met him. He spoke of you often, Lily. Daniel continued, his voice thick with emotion. He called you his little light. He was so proud of you. He paused, his eyes flickering towards the house, a flash of cold anger in their depths before returning to her, softening again. He also told me about his worries, about what might happen if. He couldn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. He reached into his suit jacket, not for a wallet, but for a folded piece of paper. He held it out. Before he passed, Daniel's voice dropped even lower, becoming intensely personal. He made me promise that if anything ever happened to him, and if you were ever alone, I would take care of you, like my own. Lily stared at the paper, then up at Daniel's face, searching for any hint of deception. She saw only sincerity, a deep well of compassion, and a shared grief that mirrored her own. He signed this, Daniel said gently, unfolding the paper slightly to reveal a legal document with her father's familiar, looping signature at the bottom. It's a guardianship agreement. He named me. He wanted you safe, loved, protected. Daniel's voice cracked slightly. He wanted you to have everything he couldn't give you himself. The words washed over Lily like a warm wave after the icy deluge. Guardianship, safe, loved, protected. Concepts that felt like fairy tales just moments ago. The crushing weight of abandonment began to lift, replaced by a fragile, trembling hope. Daniel Thorne didn't just offer words. He acted. He stood, holding out his hand, not demanding, but offering. "Come with me, Lily," he said, his voice firm with quiet resolve. "Your father's wish was for you to come home with me, to my home. There's a room waiting, warm, dry, and a very patient golden retriever named Scout who's been told he's getting a new best friend." He glanced back at Brenda and Rick, his expression hardening into something steely and final. "Consider this matter settled, legally and permanently. Any attempt to contact Lily or interfere will be met with the full force of the law. Your cruelty ends now." He didn't wait for their sputtering protests. He turned his full attention back to Lily, his expression softening instantly. "It's okay, Button," he said, using her father's pet name, and Lily's breath caught in her throat. "You're safe now. I've got you." Tears streamed down Lily's face again, but these were different. They weren't just tears of loss and fear, but of overwhelming relief, of a lifeline thrown across an impossible chasm. She looked from the cold, hateful faces in the doorway to the kind, determined eyes of the man kneeling before her, the man her father had trusted with her future. Slowly, hesitantly, her small, cold hand reached out and slipped into his warm, strong one. It felt like coming home. As Daniel Thorne gently guided her towards the waiting car, shielding her with his body from the rain and the venomous stares behind her, Lily clutched Mr. Hops and the photo of her father. The rain still fell, the world was still cold, but the crushing loneliness was gone, replaced by the steady presence of a promise kept, a guardian found, and the first fragile bloom of hope in a heart that had just been shattered. Her father's last gift, delivered by a stranger who became her salvation, had arrived just in time. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to ACA Storytales for more emotional stories.